So welcome everyone. Welcome to the United Faculty of Florida Academic Affairs jointly offered Tenure and Promotion workshop. We're so pleased that you're here today. This morning's session will focus on promotion for non-tenure track faculty, our valuable teaching, clinical, and research professors. And the first speakers will first introduce Academic Affairs. Heather Russell, Vice Provost for the Office for Faculty Leadership and Success, will make comments. Kenneth Furton, our provost, will make comments, and then I will make a few comments about the Office to Advance Women, Equity, and Diversity. So Heather, welcome.
Thank you so much, Susanna. Just want to say welcome to everyone. I know that, we are all perhaps having some anxieties around, transitions. Transitions are always difficult. I have just begun in this process, having worked very closely with my predecessor, Dr. Kathleen Wilson, who has, one hopes, helped prepare me for this process. But I am an 18-year faculty member, former chair of the English department, and most recently, before this role, Dean of the School of Environment, Arts and Society in the College of Arts, Sciences and Education. And so I just wanted to affirm a couple of things. One, that I'm here as a resource for you, that I will be working very closely with Provost Furton and our incoming interim Provost Behar to ensure that we have the smoothest transition, and we should expect no disruptions to the faculty processes. And one of the things that I sort of want to highlight now is really sharing with you a little bit about what are some of the safeguards that have been put in place and processes that have been streamlined. That's really been a major part of the work done by this office under Kathleen Wilson and her team. And so I just want to share a little bit with you about what the current tenure and promotion manual says, what you should expect, and give you some guidance in terms of what you should be thinking about as you prepare the file. So I'm going to share a PowerPoint real quick. And Susanna, I'm going to ask you to keep me on task in terms of time. Tell me if I'm going too long.
So Heather, why don't we let Provost Furton introduce himself first?
Sure, of course.
Okay, and then I'll come back to you, okay?
Okay, fine. Perfect.
Sorry, I didn't have that set up right.
It was that one. I wondered about that.
Yeah.
I didn't know. Given that it's my first one, I wasn't sure, what processes you all followed. So
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you, Vice Provost Russell. Thank you, Susanna, and the UFF for organizing this workshop. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for participating in this workshop. As I think Vice Provost Russell, covered it very well, that there's always uncertainty in a transition, but Interim President Jessel's made it very clear that we're following our strategic plan, or Next Horizon 2025 strategic plan, where we're focusing on student success as well as research preeminence. That will continue. I'll be transitioning to a new position as Chief Scientific Officer, focusing on research, including some of my own research in the next over the next several months. And as Interim Provost Behar comes in, we'll be working closely together with Vice Provost Russell and ensuring that there's a seamless transition. And I'll be a Provost Emeritus, so I'll still be around, to bug people, or people can ask my opinion as much as they want. But I just want to, state that during a transition like this, and I've said this at other public meetings, is that the stability of a university is really its faculty. So, and I've said this, the whole time I've been provost, this is my 8th year, is that, students come and go. Hopefully they graduate in 4 to 6 years. Administrators come and go. At 8 years, I'm the longest serving provost. So, it's there's always turnover of administrators. But most faculty are here for decades, and we have amazing faculty. And so this process of understanding the promotion is extremely important, because we want you here. We want you to be successful, and you're really the success. The university's success is based on the reputation of its faculty and on the success of our students. And so we really, this is probably one of the most critical things we can do is making sure we get this right, assist you. And I'm very excited for the future. I think, because the faculty are really the heart and soul of the university, we're going to get through this, and everything's going to be, I think, continue. We have great momentum. So it's a lot, if you just wanted to share that, I think you did a great job, Heather, in giving that intro. And just let you know that the Office of the Provost is here to support you in any way as we go through, ensure that there's a fair and collegial process. That's extremely critical. Heather's going to go through some of that, and just let you know that we're here to support you. If you have any questions, you'll know who to contact, and there are resources here. And again, just thank you for being here. It's great to be here. Back to you, Heather.
Oh, I'm going to go next.
Okay. Oh,
thank you.
Up to you, Susanna.
I should change the schedule. Thank you so much, Provost. It's been a pleasure to work with you. I'm just going to say a little bit about this office, AWED, and then we're going to get back to Heather with the important information about the process. This office, we call it AWED, does not have an official role in the TNP process, but our mission is to provide research-based educational diversity, equity, and inclusion training for the academic workplace. So all our inclusive excellence workshops do try to address issues related to tenure and promotion with the faculty. So we want to attract, recruit, retain, and promote more women and underrepresented minority faculty so that we have a more representative faculty that reflects our student body. So I know most of you have been to the STRIDE workshop, STRIDE hiring workshop. We also have a STRIDE for tenure and promotion, which I really recommend that you attend. It is open to everybody because we go over what some of the important things that Heather will go over today. We also have our award-winning bystander leadership program. It's a very interactive all-day workshop that about 400 people have been able to, faculty have attended, to rave reviews. And the faculty mentor program, that is definitely aimed at helping you succeed. So we find a mentor for anybody that requests one, usually in a related research area or something that somebody that really knows what you're going to have to go through to get promoted. We also have an annual Women Faculty Leadership Institute in May. It's usually a half-day workshop on some aspect of leadership for women. Some of you know and are involved in the diversity and inclusion plan development in your department. We provide support for that process. We also have college equity advisors, and I'd like to introduce Caroline Simpson, who is the CASE equity advisor. Caroline, can you just put your picture up? Say a few words.
Sure. Hi, everybody. I think you can see me.
Yes.
Hi, I am, as Susanna said, I'm the equity advisor for the College of Arts, Sciences, and Education. I'm also one of the associate directors for the Office to Advance Women, Equity, and Diversity. A lot of you may know me through my work with the Diversity Advocate Program for hiring committees. You may have gotten emails from me. I also help lead the STRIDE workshops of various types. And I am a resource for faculty regarding diversity, equity, and inclusion, especially in CASE. So I'm very happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Caroline. And some of you have also seen our AWED Theater, which is part of the Bystander Leadership Program, but also is available as an independent offering. So we want to ask you to make sure to keep up with what we're doing here. We have Celine Torres is our new public relation communications person. She's been doing a great job of putting things out on LinkedIn, and she doesn't have a mic, so she can't speak to you herself. But connect with us on social media. We're doing a lot, as much as we can, to make sure we publicize the good works that faculty are doing. So this session is being recorded, and participants cannot use the chat, but they can use the Q&A. So just direct any comments you have to the Q&A. Thank you. And I'm going to go back to Heather now, who can take it away. Then we're going to introduce the United Faculty of Florida speakers.
So, the main thing that I wanted to highlight is that the TMP manual that is currently approved by both the Faculty Senate and the Office of the Provost, and that occurred on November of 2020, was the product of a great deal of collaborative work spearheaded by Dr. Kathleen Wilson and other team members in this office, and other faculty stakeholders. And so I just want to sort of highlight some of the changes that are in that manual, and really just strongly recommend that you have that as your guide as you prepare for the promotion process. So the current manual pertains to all tenure earning faculty, non-tenure earning faculty, librarians and clinical faculty, TACO candidates, so tenure as a condition of employment, and also outlines processes for third year review. So what is outlined in that manual are what the files should look like, right? So the composition of the files. And I'm going to speak a little bit later about some tips around that. Really important, the responsibilities of the various constituents. So yourselves as individual faculty, what you should be expecting from your department committees, from your chairs, from the college committees, should that be part of the process, not in this case, but also from your deans and then from the provost. And so the flow chart and timelines are outlined. Every year there's the publication of the timeline for the NTT promotion process, and you should be sure to familiarize yourselves with that. That information is on the Office of the Provost website, and also on our Faculty Leadership and Success website. So changes look slightly from year to year, but generally, you should be thinking about using those roundabout dates as you prepare, depending on where you are in the process. So one of the changes that's reflected in the current 2020 manual is that the processes for all ranks are integrated into one document. It used to be that there was a separate document for what used to be called instructors or lecturers, and one of the moves, and I really want to commend Provost Spartan for his vision in this, and other leaders, recognizing the importance of our teaching faculty. The move was made to designate teaching faculty in terms of the ranks of assistant teaching professors, associate teaching professors, and so on. And even though a path to promotion had already been bargained, and I know my colleague Eric Dwyer is going to talk about the union and the importance of that entity. I should share with you that when I was an undergraduate, I was a labor studies minor. I don't know if Eric knows that, and thought I was going to go into labor law. So, but here I am. Anyhow, the processes for being promoted from assistant teaching professor to associate and so on are laid out in the manual, and so again, be sure to familiarize yourselves with it. Another major piece that I think is a significant change in the new manual is that collegiality is now officially included. I think that though one might argue that should be a foregone conclusion, that we should behave in collegial ways towards each other, that unfortunately human nature, that doesn't always happen, but we believe as a faculty that there is an expectation of collegiality, that we behave in decent and fair and equitable ways, and dignified ways towards each other, and so that is now in the current manual. The other piece that's been clarified that I think is really important is that reasons for abstaining from voting. There was some sort of vagueness, confusion really about what the abstain vote indicates, and that has been clarified in the new manual. And I think that these are really important changes that help protect faculty and help protect and the process, the fairness of the process. Other clarifications, who can vote and when, again, when abstaining is acceptable, are all laid out there. So one of the instruments that the Office of the Provost, along with Susanna's Office to Advance Women, Equity, and Diversity, have invested in is the coach faculty survey, and FIU has participated in that survey for, I think since 2010 or 2012. Caroline would correct me on this. And in any case, in the prior participation in the survey, there was an indication that there was some confusion around tenure and promotion guidelines, right? What was the criteria by which candidates were to be evaluated and to be adjudged, meritorious. So departments have been spending the last 2 years, again, this office really led in terms of helping support departments through these processes to clarify guidelines, right? To make sure that there are the candidates who are coming up for promotion have a sense of what the expectations are, and that those expectations are clearly articulated. And that becomes really important because, what we don't want is a case where all of a sudden the needle gets moved for a particular candidate, right? So this is where faculty governance again becomes really critical, and so departments have been engaged in very deliberative conversations about all of this, and those guidelines are now in place. So some departments had guidelines before that were actually written and articulated. Some had sort of a culture of what the expectations are. What we want to make clear is that that if the criteria for promotion or tenure are modified, that faculty who are at least 3 years into the process are evaluated under what was the criteria before, right? The expectations before, the norms before, unless they choose at least 30 days prior to the start to be evaluated under a new criteria. So I think this is, again, really important part of the promotion process. Okay. So how to ensure a fair process? This office, again, in the last couple of years has really worked on concretizing a couple key faculty governance processes. One is working on ensuring that bylaws are really clear, right? So you should apprise yourself of, what are the bylaws in your department? How does voting occur? Who gets to vote and when, and so on. Also, ensuring, again, that you're clear about what are the promotion guidelines in your department, right? What are the expectations and so on. And then the process, right? What is the process that, you should follow in terms of your file kind of, moving through the various, deliberative bodies. So to ensure a fair process, it's really important that faculty have mentors. It's important that faculty are given, you should expect to have clear promotion guidelines when hired. And if you don't, you need to check with your chairs to make sure that you have all of that information. And especially when there's a change in leadership, and if expectations change, there's a sense that the new leadership has different expectations. We always defer to the written guidelines that are in place. And so again, really, really critical to have clearly laid out written guidelines in terms of what expectations for promotions are. This piece as well is also critical. Faculty and departments have been engaging in clarifying things like differential assignment policies, teaching activity modifiers, that kind of thing. It is really, really important that annual evaluations are based on your annual assignment. So it should be your expectation that the criteria by which you're being evaluated is correlates specifically to what your assignment is, right? And so again, these are, I think, really important clarifications that only help to make this process more fair and transparent. So annual evaluations, again, must be an accurate reflection of the faculty's progress with specific guidelines towards promotion. You would note in Panther 180, and I'm going to make reference to that system in a little bit, but you would note that at the very end of the evaluation, there is progress towards promotion. And, you know, we have been working with chairs to ensure that that chairs clearly guide in terms of where candidates are, faculty are, as they progress towards the promotion, whether it's in this case, promotion to teaching associate professor or promotion to teaching professor, and so on. It is the expectation that chairs support faculty throughout the process, right? And it's also the expectation that chairs continue to work, that chairs work with a faculty member to determine that the file is complete, right? So that everything is uploaded in the way that it should be prior to it moving through the process. So differential assignment policies should be in place. I think I mentioned that before. Susanna, I believe, may talk about stride training. This is really important. You know, one of an important change, I think, in recent years has been mandating stride training for all college TMP members, chairs, and deans. And I think, you know, again, we just can't be armed with enough information about how to identify things like, you know, structural biases or hidden impediments, or, you know, the ways in which identity differentials can impact, you know, what faculty's pathways are. So that's been, I think, very edifying and important work. And I want to thank Susanna and her team for that work that they have been doing. Faculty members should vote in home departments and recuse themselves if on college committees. So again, the TMP manual, the new one, clarifies who gets to vote and how that process works through. So I did want to pause for a minute and give a shout out to Abilene Pinzon, who is an integral part of the Panther 180 team, and her other members of her team, Ryan and Marshall. I want to, this is not the right slide. Wait, let me go back to that. This is the evaluating teaching slide. Apologies. Okay, pause on Abby and Panther 180. I decided to add this at the last minute. And I think it's really important because, especially for, as you all are putting together your files to reflect the excellent teaching that you're doing, that you're really aware of the evaluating teaching project and the support that's there for faculty. So as you may know, the project encompasses your ability to present the teaching excellence along sort of three vectors. One is this, of course, student perceptions of teaching. And it had been the case that that was sort of the principal way that faculty would report on their teaching. So regarding the spots, there are a couple of things that you should know. One is that the Center for the Advancement of Teaching under Leanne Wells' leadership has done a lot of work on really improving the spots. So there are about 8 or 9 questions that the Board of Governors mandates all students are asked. But we know that when typically, student surveys, their perceptions of teaching can have built-in hidden biases and other things. And so the committee looking at this has done a lot of work, a lot of research on improving the questions, ensuring that questions that you can choose to ask of your students are a lot more helpful, providing you with really useful information to help you, improve teaching. So there are about 22 questions, I believe, that have been developed, additional questions other than the 8 ones that are mandated by the BOG, and you have opportunity to choose from those. And so I would encourage you to avail yourselves of and familiarize yourselves with the new spots and the processes there. The other piece is, of course, you have opportunity to, and the expectation is that you will talk about do a sort of self-evaluation of your teaching, right? So, we believe that you know best the kinds of deliberative work that you have put in place for your teaching, and that should be reflected, right? It should be, you should have a chance to talk about the teaching innovations that you have engaged in, or the pedagogical sort of workshops or that you've participated in, and so on. And so those opportunities are built into Panther 180, but more importantly, built into the evaluative process, right? And the third is peer evaluations. And by peer, we're not talking about somebody coming in and doing a classroom observation. That used to be, when I was teaching way back when, that was that was how peer evaluation worked. This is more so thinking about how peer-to-peer as colleagues, we can help support each other and work together as peers in sort of co-creating better teaching practices and so on. So those opportunities are there for you to really give a much fuller, fleshed out picture of the teaching that you're doing. And so I just wanted to put a plug then for SOCAT offers open labs for full-time faculty who wish to really get a better sense of how to use the spots, how to use the peer evaluations, how to do the self-evaluations, how to really have the picture again that you paint of your teaching be reflected in the process.
So Heather,
yes,
I wondered if some of the resource slides you could show during the Q&A. I don't know how close you are to the end.
I'm actually right at the very end.
Okay.
I'm right at the very end. So the last thing I wanted to say was, don't wait until the last minute to upload documents in Panther 180, especially the CV can be really, really complicated. And so Abby and her team in Panther 180 do offer labs. So be on the lookout for those emails, and in the Q&A, I'm sure Abby can maybe talk a little bit more about that. Also, the Tenure and Promotion Manual is your sacred document. Ask for help if you need it, right? The process is not always intuitive, and I always make a plug for self-care. These processes can be very, very anxiety producing. And, you want to, as one of my really great friends says to me all the time, be a friend to yourself. So be a friend to yourself through the process. And without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Susanna.
Thank you so much, Heather.
Sure.
We want you all that are here to feel that there's a lot of support for you being successful here at FIU. So we will distribute a link to this workshop to everybody that's here, actually to all the faculty. And somebody asked for a link to the teaching evaluation training. So I don't know if you can put that in there, Heather. So now I'd like to introduce United Faculty of Florida representatives, Eric Dwyer, Associate Professor of Teaching and Learning, and Rachel Ritchie, Associate Teaching Professor. And they are wonderful resources for you as well. So Eric.
Good morning, and thanks so much, Susanna. It's lovely to see everybody. Thank you for joining in. I'm first going to hand it over to Rachel Ritchie, who has a message from the president. Is Rachel there?
I was having trouble getting myself off mute. It disappeared for a second there. Martha sends her regrets. Our fearless leader, Martha Meyer, couldn't be with us today, but wants us to know that she is here for us, even if it's virtually. Thank you so much.
All right, thanks, Rachel. Rachel just a couple of years ago went through NTT promotion, and she's going to join us in for that conversation. And she's also, I'm going to take you through a few items with respect to UFF and the collective bargaining agreement and what it has to say about tenure promotion and what that means in real life action for you with respect to what you do when it comes time for promotion. So, and I've asked Rachel to step on my toes whenever she feels that it's possible to do so and reasonable to do so. So please feel free and don't be surprised if she interrupts me. And I told her I won't be offended, and I mean it. So here we go. I am going to, it's tradition to share PowerPoint, so I'm going to do that. What I'd like to point out is that we try to be happy, peppy people when we're doing promotion because, as Dr. Russell appropriately said, it can be a fairly anxiety-provoking condition that we navigate through our careers. So hopefully we have a very nice document called the CBA, the Collective Bargaining Agreement, that helps us make certain that the processes for promotion go smoothly. I don't know if that's completely possible, but we're going to make the best effort that we can. Now, I've looked at a bunch of these contracts around the state, and I think we've got the best one. So I think we'll try and see what we can do here to help make your promotion activities as enjoyable as can be. I'm going to point out these websites. We've got the CBA, which has its cba.uff-fiu.org, and that is sort of the go-to instrument and the one that I'm going to be talking about the most today. And then the others here are items that Dr. Russell mentioned. And I also want to point out very strenuously, and Dr. Russell did too, but this cannot be undermined at all. Your department's bylaws regarding promotion are supremely important. Now, I say this because I think there are departments without them. Get on board, get this on your faculty agenda with your next meeting if they're not there, because if you're just relying on the university guidelines, which is a possibility, then you may be short-sheeting the ways that are more pertinent to your own organization and your own profession. So let's make sure we do that. You're welcome to email Dr. Meyer or me with respect to anything that's going on with the union. And here is our contact information. I was a former president, well, I am a former president. I used to be president. And now I'm the grievance officer. And so I'm the one you can write if you have any questions with respect to administrative tug of wars that you might endure through tenure promotion or any other condition that happens here on campus. I must emphasize, though, that the state law only allows me to address these issues and represent you as a union member if you are indeed a member. If you're not a member, I'm afraid I can't do that. That doesn't mean you can't grieve. You can still grieve, but I'm afraid you would be on your own to do so. All right.
When's a good time to join the union, Eric?
So, and actually, Rachel, what is that website? Do you have the URL on the chance?
Yeah, join.uff-fiu.org. It's always a good time to join the union. Join today if you're going up for promotion anytime within the next 5 years, which is all of us, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and one reason why we say this is because sometimes folks will get into a snag and then they want to join, and state law won't let that work very well. I can only address issues that occur after joining. So that's sort of the rules that we have to play with. All right. It's interesting to note that in the CBA, the word promotion appears 61 times. So I guess we think it's important. There's actually a section on pages 76 to 79 called promotion. So we're there. Now, one reason to go and get promotion is because you want money. And money happens in the CBA. It happens at different clips depending on what your promotion happens to be too. It could be 11%, 12%, or 14%. So it depends on the category to which you are going up for promotion. But there you go. All right. The other thing I'd like to mention is the issue of academic freedom. And if you've been paying attention to the TV shows recently, we understand that academic freedom is actually more important now than it's been in a long, long time. It is a legal issue, and certainly UFF, FIU, and our state office in Tallahassee are being forthright with respect to upholding the standards of academic freedom. I want to point out this phrase in the CBA, which was just bargained and revised in the latest incarnation, and that is FIU affirms the rights and responsibilities of academic freedom, which are rooted in the concept of the university as a community of scholars committed to the free inquiry and atmosphere of tolerance without fear of censorship or reprisal. I must say that this has become an important item for FIU. If any of you were following the news recently regarding to the University of Florida and professors who were asked to testify in the name of their academic fields and then were prevented doing so by the university administration, the same request also came to a professor at FIU, and FIU's administration did not impede that professor from testifying. And UFF is applauding the university administration for that decision. University of Florida administration did not go that way, and you saw the trouble that it caused. FIU actually probably, I thought, came out looking pretty good with respect to that. So thank you, administration, for those decisions. It meant a lot to a lot of folks. All right, that politics notwithstanding, we also want to understand that academic freedom, what it means, has to do with presenting and discussing all relevant matters regarding your freedom to teach the classes in which you need to, and the way you choose materials that support your doing so. It does, however, say that this doesn't necessarily mean that you get on university agendas naturally. You kind of have to have that agreed to. But the way you conduct your own class, that's your business, and the union will support you on that. The same thing has to go with responsibilities. And part of the responsibility of having academic freedom is making sure that you present your work accurately and justifiably. And that includes in your promotion and tenure files. Now, maybe that seems like a no-brainer, but yes, we actually do need to say so. Some folks try to fudge stuff. Well, no, you can't do that. You got to be honest with the way that you present your items. And that's in the CBA. We agree to doing that. All right. Now, what are the materials, according to the CBA, that are important with respect to promotion? Well, here we go. The first one right here, I don't know if you can see my pointer, but number 1 is the doozy, annual assignments and performance evaluations. These others are important too, but what I'm really going to refer to in the next slides has to do with item number 1 there, assignments and evaluations. Now, the assignments have everything to do with your initial appointment. And you may get an initial appointment letter, and you want to keep a hold of that and understand what it says, as letters change from person to person. And so what ends up happening is we always go back to your initial appointment if we have questions to see what was agreed to and what the atmosphere is that you are working under. Professors, I suppose their HR has a standard document that professors use, but that doesn't mean it can't be tweaked. So we have to go back and look at that. Now, having said that, I want you to pay attention, and I think Dr. Russell mentioned this, and I want to emphasize it. Look at your annual assignment and look at your annual appointment. You want to look at it every year, and you want to make certain that you got one. Believe it or not, there are professors on campus that don't necessarily get a yearly assignment. Well, we need to know what that is, right? The other thing that happens with appointments is sometimes they change. And if you get a change, that's okay. You just want to make certain that all this stuff is documented. These are all part of creating your story about your time at FIU so that you can assert that you're on a trajectory that makes sense and that people that are reading your file, because that's all they've got to go on, understand what that trajectory was, has been, and currently is. All right? Now, annual assignments are shockingly kind of tricky. And you know why? They're tricky because they're issued in the summer. Now, the union is mostly opposed to people doing extra work in the summertime. But the contract says that you got to pay attention to your assignments in the summertime. So that's when you look at your assignments, and do not miss working on the assignments. When it's time to put forward any documentation for your chairs toward what your assignment's going to be, that will probably happen in May. Be sure you're on top of it. The other thing is that when you get your assignment, it cannot happen any later than 6 weeks before the beginning of the semester. Now, this year that was July the 1st. Every now and then, actually the last 3 years, we've had an agreement with the university administration on moving that just a little bit. Usually has to do with either a technical issue or, and then COVID came into play. So be on top of the information that comes into your email box at the end of June to make certain that we are clear on when those annual assignments are due. Now, they should not happen any more than 6 weeks. You should get an annual assignment 6 weeks ahead of the semester. One thing that happens though is that assignments change and usually happen sort of about a week or two before the semester starts or before the school year starts, and that's because of enrollments. Now, enrollments, if an enrollment happens, then a change might happen. You want to be notified. If you've noticed that a chair has asked you to drop a class and get a different one right at the last minute, or maybe it's like 2 weeks ahead of the semester, you're like, can't we wait for enrollments? The reason why they're doing it then is because they're supposed to, according to the contract, do it in a reasonable amount of time. The last minute changes are complicated and difficult, and the union generally does not take those on because those types of things are just difficult to navigate for everybody. But that's why that's happening. Now, I do want to say that the notification and in writing is highly, highly important. It's part of the story that you tell for that year. Another part of the assignment is that something called Equitable Opportunity. You don't own a class. You don't own a system at FIU. If there is a means for helping someone make promotion and you're taking on one class precludes someone else from ultimately doing that too, then that would be a violation of equitable opportunity. The chair is responsible for juggling that kind of information. So we want to be aware of this, not only so that you understand sometimes when you're not able to teach a class that you would otherwise really like to teach, or you actually get into teach a class that you need to teach in order to make a promotion and have an equitable opportunity. This not only applies to issues of teaching, but also applies to issues of service. And on the off chance that you are invited and required to do any kind of research, it would apply there too. I'm going to skip on to that, but I just want to make certain that you understand that these issues of equitable opportunity are in the CBA. One thing I recommend that people do when they're putting together their promotion materials is put together a chart of their assignments. Now, here is sort of the basic way that folks going up for promotion in the NTT world have their annual assignments. We start out with a 90% teaching, 10% service allocation. So if you're teaching 8 courses in a year, then you have a 90% teaching allocation. That means that every class counts as 11.25% of your allocation. That's where we start out normally. That's kind of tradition and the way we think about it. If you end up having that every year, then this is kind of how this chart might look. But every now and then, people do little swap-a-roos here and there, or do something else. Who knows? Maybe, this doesn't happen for a whole bunch of folks, but it does happen on occasion. You're invited to do a little bit of research. Maybe you get a course release. If you look at this chart, you'd see that in 2 years, you got a course release in each of the semesters, fall and spring, to do some research. And therefore, you could have an allocation for research. Or more likely would be what happens on this chart under 2023-24, where you are asked to do additional service. Now, how do you know, I think with research, teaching, and service, how do you know what that allocation is percent-wise? We go to this document in your unit, in your department, called the Differentiated Assignment Policy. Dr. Russell referred to that, and I want to say it again, Differentiated Assignment Policy. Some folks affectionately refer to it as the DAP, and it's super duper important. For some people on campus, it's kind of new, and it is kind of new. It's only really become a big thing in the last 3 years or so. But we think it's highly important because this is your profession's understanding of your own work. And this occurs through faculty governance. This is not top-down. This is not administratively driven, although the administration has to approve it and they're part of the negotiation. But the document itself comes from the faculty. Thus, if you can understand what it means to do some kind of service and add it up to a 10% allocation, or some kind of teaching or some kind of research, then you start building your profile about what these allocations mean. That comes directly out of your department. If your department not yet has a differentiated assignment policy and needs assistance in doing so, the union's willing to go there. We can help out. But in the meantime, I think it behooves you to double check and see what your differentiated assignment policy has to say in terms of your allocations on assignments. Now, these are sort of the things that happen during the year. You get these mid-year requests. Actually, it could happen even in September, October. Maybe it's happened to you. Can you join a new committee? Or I need to change your teaching assignment so we can accommodate these students. And I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but yeah, I do. I want to beat the dead horse. This is really important to go back to your chair. Your chair should expect this question ad nauseum. How does this affect my allocation? How does this affect my allocation? How does this affect my allocation? Assignments are the purview of admin. There's no denying that. But the way that they allocate them is highly dependent upon this differentiated assignment policy. So make certain that you've got a yearly assignment and make certain that you're paying attention to your DAP. Now, when you finally get your evaluation, this also should happen 45 days at the end of the academic year. So if you happen to be on a 9-month contract, then you would have 45 days after the end of that contract. If you're on a 12-month contract, then it would be 45 days after the end of that contract. So May the 11th, the end of your contract would happen. You have to have your evaluation sometime probably around June the 25th is when you would need to have that, right? You then get 30 days to respond to it once you have it. And the CBA is you have 30 days from the moment you get it, not 30 days from the deadline. And I want you to pay attention to that. Once you get your annual evaluation, even if it comes a little bit early, your 30-day clock begins. Once again, problematic because it's in the summer. So I want you to make certain that you pay attention to stuff in the summer. Make certain that it's signed. Well, we didn't sign anything on Panther 180 now, but you want to make certain that you have copies. You have the right to request a meeting with administrators with respect to any questions you have about your evaluations. Here's what I do not recommend. I don't like my evaluation and I'm not going to talk to my chair about it. No. Talk away, because if anything happens after this time period, you can't grieve. So you've got that 30-day window to try and iron things out. Guess what? They're almost always easily ironed out. So go ahead and try and iron that out. Let's see. During the procedures, when you get a decision from any folks on Panther 180 regarding your decision, you're going to have 5 days to respond to them. So if you get a letter from your chairs discussing ways that perhaps they're not interested in helping you with promotion this time, you would have a 5-day window in order to make your argument as to why you think you should be able to be promoted. Okay, just some cautionary tales, and I already kind of mentioned some. One is there are faculty who take on service roles, and they kind of do so out of the goodness of their heart. Someone says, would you mind doing blah, blah, blah? And you're like, yeah, sure, I'd be happy to. I do it for the good of the university. Well, guess what? When it comes down to time for evaluations, if you're doing this at the expense of your teaching or any other part of your assignment, the evaluators don't care. You are hired to do your assignment, and that's it. Any gravy upon that, you're not being evaluated on it anyway. You are actually not evaluated on gravy. You're evaluated on the assignment. So at review time, what often happens is the faculty member says, but I did X, Y, and Z, and I did it out of the goodness of my heart. But it precluded your ability to do your assigned A, B, and C. And so the cautionary tale is to actually be very careful when saying yes to those requests. The other part of it is that maybe you might take it as an overload. Same sort of thing. You don't get evaluated on overloads. You only get evaluated on your assignment. So be careful when you do overloads, because it becomes a problem. One other thing that I've noticed in doing grievances over a number of years is that faculty often take an extra class because their enrollments don't make. So let's say that it's August the 30th and the class all of a sudden gets until August the 22nd. It's August the 22nd, and the chair says, we're going to have to cancel your class. But don't worry, you'll have 3 classes instead of 4 now. We'll just add on a class next year. No, because what you end up doing is now your assignment is 3 classes, and that's it. That's your assignment, right? You only get paid for your assignment inside the year. So what you really need to do is figure out the reallocations of your assignment, maybe beef up some service, maybe do a little research, take on an administrative job, something like that. Because the following year, if the administrator is asking you to teach 5 classes instead of 4, they are effectively asking you to teach a free class. The union does not look favorably on that. So no free work later. That's no good, because you can just see what's going to happen. 5 classes instead of 4, but smushed into the same amount of time makes your life much more difficult. We are not into making your life difficult if it's not necessary to do so. All right. Now, finally, promotion, as Dr. Russell appropriately mentioned, can be somewhat stressful. And while FIU is indeed named as one of the great working places in Florida, and it is, and we have substantial evidence that administrative support occurs at FIU. We are still the 4th largest university in the United States. And as Dr. Russell mentioned, not everybody is groovy. So on the off chance that you encounter ungrooviness, I want to highly recommend that you take notes. Document the days, document the event, and if you got a recording of it, even better. Know your rights regarding discipline and discrimination. Issues of promotion regarding discrimination occur, and they've occurred recently. So we want to make certain that those issues are addressed and handled with as much information that is laudable and suitable as we can find. I already mentioned not working for free, but I also want to emphasize yet one more time, and I know I've already said so before, that if you don't have the appropriate documentation in your own department, you need to get it. make certain you get that on your department meeting schedule so that you can start addressing these issues and make life even fairer for your fellow colleagues. Anyway, that's what I've got to say. I thank you very much for your attention. And as we get through the workshop, I'll look forward to your questions. Thank you so much.
Can I chime in on keeping notes?
Yep.
Okay, as a workshop junkie who attended a ton last year, it can get really overwhelming to keep track of everything you're doing as an NTT person who also does service. So I'd just like to give a brief plug for Dr. Tracy Wheeler's pedagogy, Tools for Pedagogy workshop series that she's doing for the Center for the Advancement of Teaching. Implementing some of her techniques involving OneNote and Outlook have made tracking my service and my commitments a lot easier for me. And in turn, it makes it easier for me to do my end of the year evaluations. So I'm going to drop a link to that in the chat. I highly recommend it. It will help you to much better organize your time so that it doesn't take you hours and hours to do that performance evaluation at the end of the year.
Thank you. And thank you, Eric, for that presentation. And Rachel, yes, Tracy really is good. She's a good mentor. She's very active in the mentor program too. So now we have a few minutes to hear from Daryl Elmore, teaching professor in English, who is going to, the request was to just tell us anything he wants to tell us about going through the promotion process, any advice he has, how he experienced it. It's very open-ended. Welcome, Daryl.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. This is great. I really enjoyed what I've seen so far. Yeah, so a little bit of my background, so I can give you a little context. So I'm in English, and most of my teaching is in writing and rhetoric, and so I'm non-tenure track. And so recently I went for the promotion from associate teaching professor to teaching professor. And the process went smoothly, thankfully. I had been through the process before. After my 6th year, I was promoted to associate teaching professor, which back then was called senior lecturer, and they changed the nomenclature. So yeah, so I had been through this before. This was my first time going through it on Panther 180. And I don't know about the rest of you all, but Panther 180, sometimes the categories, it's difficult to figure out what goes where. So one of the pieces of advice I have is to make a list. I tried to find my list that I had, and I've just moved recently. I couldn't find it, but you would want a list of, I like Eric's year-by-year chart. It's nice to have a year-by-year chart. And in addition to your teaching service breakdown, you could also have a year-by-year, all of the documents that you want to have for each year, such as your chair's evaluation, your annual assignments, your spots evaluations. Just have a checklist and make sure that each year you have all those documents ready. So what I found helpful was if there were places on Panther 180 where I wasn't sure which category a document might go in, such as a presentation at a conference, then one thing that I did to sort of safeguard and catch everything, there's a category at the bottom of your non-tenure track promotion file that says additional documents. And what I did actually is all the documents that I had already put in other places and a couple of extra ones, I went ahead and I'm not sure if you're supposed to duplicate, but I put all of them in a row, 12 documents at the bottom, so that when our department, the committee in our department, promotion committee reviewed them, they could find every document, just all 12 documents at the end, just boom, 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 and they were clearly labeled. So I think that might help those that are evaluating your promotion file to see everything in a neat, organized way. Maybe somebody else has suggestions and comments also, and interesting experiences about getting everything uploaded to Panther 180. The only other advice I have, of course, is start early. Start as early as you can on your file the year that you're going up for promotion. Usually it's in August or September. Start in May. Get everything ready, get everything lined up. And I had a pretty good experience experience uploading everything and getting letters of recommendation that I needed from people. They were very helpful, and the chair was very helpful. So I had a pretty good experience.
Thank you. If you want to stay around, maybe people have questions for you.
Sure.
Okay. I'm glad you had a good experience.
Yeah, it went well. Thank you.
That's what we want to hear. So now I'm going to take a minute to let Heather introduce Lauren Christos. Or she can introduce herself. Hi, Lauren. You're muted.
Again. Hi, everyone. I'm happy to introduce myself. No problem there. I am Lauren Christos. I am the ombuds for the university. I do not do ombudsmanship for students or staff. So I do ombudsmanship for all faculty. Also, I'd like to add that I have been grievance chair for 10 years, and I have been a librarian at BBC for 20. So in addition, I'm an FIU alum. So I've been with the university quite some time, and it's good to still be here. Thank you. So what do I do? As an ombuds, I belong to the International Association for Ombuds. I'm a member of that. And essentially my role is 4 qualities. I am informal, meaning that there is no grievance process. There is no activity that I engage in that involves any kind of a formality of a procedure. I am supremely confidential. Anyone that comes to me, it is strictly between that person and myself. I am, I'm losing my mind. I am neutral. My apologies. I am neutral. So I'm impartial. I don't take sides. I am there to listen, to assist in any way possible. I'm kind of like Switzerland in that regard. I am there only to be of assistance in any way that I can. I often reach out to other individuals throughout the university that can be of, we would refer someone to visit with them and discuss their issue if it was appropriate to do that. Lastly, I am independent, which means that I am not affiliated with another entity within the university. I have been reporting directly in the past with Kathleen Wilson and then also to Ken Furton at times. Now I will be reporting with Heather, which I look forward to meeting with her. Thank you, Heather. And working with all of the individuals at the university that can help me help the faculty. Okay, what I don't do, and I'm looking at, there's that actual website on the Provost webpage, but I want to make a correction. I was going to say this for the end, but I want to say it straight off. If you wish to contact me, the best way is first through my email, which is private. It's a Gmail account. It's my last name, christos.lauren@gmail.com.
Can you put that in the Q&A also?
Sure.
When you're done.
Sure, happily. And my phone number, my cell, is 305-332, and I'll put that in the chat as well, 4365. It's best to email me first, because if I don't recognize the number, I often don't pick up. But I am available to you through those 2 channels. And then we can set up a phone conference, a Zoom meeting, whatever works best. But back to what I don't do. I don't undertake these activities, participate in a formal investigation, or play any role in a formal issue like a resolution. I do not serve in any other organization that would compromise my neutrality. I don't receive notice for FIU, say if a legal factor wanted to, I don't take that kind of information into my office. And I don't make binding decisions or policies or create or maintain records or reports for the university. So I do keep statistical information and that kind of data, but it is absolutely confidential with regard to whoever contacts me. That information is sacrosanctly private. All right. I think the most important thing I'd like you to all to keep in mind is that I listen and I understand your issues as best I am with respect to the facts. I do not listen to judge or make decisions about right or wrong. So I'm not going to be, oh yeah, I'm on your side. Let's go at it. No, I cannot do that. I do refer people to appropriate resources, as I mentioned earlier, and identify new issues and opportunities for systemic change for the organization. That has come up in the past where there's been matters that have come before me that I'll had consulted with Kathleen or someone else and say, this has been coming up and I think it should be addressed. And then leave it in their hands because it's reoccurring, it's systemic, it's a problem. People are unhappy about a particular matter. So I do make efforts toward making comprehensive and intelligent changes in those directions, but no binding policies or mandates comes from my office. Essentially, I'm here to help anyone that comes before me so that we can help hopefully come to an understanding of how best to approach whatever the issue is. And I do maintain those 4 principles: impartiality, neutral, independent, informal, confidential. I think I listed 5, but that's okay. You get the picture. All right, I'm going to put that information for all of you, and I'll stay around for any Q&A, or if you have anything you want to ask me straight off now, I'm happy to help.
Thank you, Lauren. Well, we are moving to the Q&A now.
Sure.
And I think if anybody there's a question that I thought maybe Eric might want to address. Look at the open questions. Mihaela asked a question.
I just wanted to add 2 things I added to the Q&A. One was the dates for the open labs, and there is a Qualtrics link that I'm about to post. I was actually looking for that when Lauren was being introduced, so I missed that. I apologize.
That's okay.
I'm going to send that soon. And the other thing is, they're we work as a team. So they're, depending on the nature, someone had some questions about a particular individual circumstance. So depending on the nature of what that is, right? I gave a list of numbers and resources, and I'm also going to put in the Q&A my phone number as well, so that you can, feel free to reach out to me should you have need some, direct and quick answers to things.
I see somebody asked for all the links to be listed in the Q&A. Maybe we should take the links because I don't think you'll be able to go from the video to the links. Maybe we could send you a list of the links.
I can answer Mihaela's question now if you'd like.
Okay.
She says, "Did I shoot myself in the foot?" The answer is, yeah, possibly, but the other part is making certain that the allocation reflects your service. It sounds like you gave half of your time, or approximately half of your time, to service, maybe even a 45% allocation. So I would actually include that in your package when you go up for promotion. If you were still teaching 4 classes and you got 2 courses released and got paid for 2 as an overload, then your allocation there is the 2 courses each semester plus the 45% service. Does that make sense? I'll put that in. I'll type it out. But if you have further questions, I'm happy to address it.
We also have the Panther 180 people here. If you have questions for them, do you want to introduce them, Heather? Do you think?
Yes, of course. I'd like to introduce.
They could say what their role is, perhaps.
Abilene Pinzon. Abby heads up the Panther 180 team. And Abby, if you want to introduce yourself and introduce the rest of the team, I think that would be great. And emphasize the open labs, because I just learned that the other day, and I think that's great.
Absolutely. Hello, everyone. Good morning. My name is Abilene Pinzon. I work at the Office of the Provost Planning and Finance, and I do oversee the Panther 180 project. So I just wanted to mention before I introduce my colleagues that we are here to support you in any way possible. As Dr. Russell mentioned, we do offer several open labs. So even though the focus of this workshop is tenure and promotion, we have discussed annual evaluations as well. So just be on the lookout, because we do offer open labs for both those, right? For tenure and promotion as well as annual evaluation. So we will be contacting you, right? As the dates get a little bit closer with those open labs and the Zoom links as well. And we will also, the plan is to post them on our website on Panther 180 at, panther180.fiu.edu. However, our email is panther180@fiu.edu if you have any questions. Our direct hotline or support line is 305-348-2161, and I'll add all of this into the FAQ or chat. That way you have access to it, even though it's pretty straightforward, and all of that information is available on our website, right, which is panther180.fiu.edu. Easy to remember for the most part. It's the same place that you're going to log in. So the point is, we are here to support you in any way possible during all of these processes that we are managing within the system. And I'm going to go ahead and introduce my colleagues that you see on the camera. So I'll start with Marshall Maurice. I'm not sure if you want to introduce yourself. Put you on the spot.
Yeah, sure. I mean, you put me on the spot, I'll do it. No problem. No, I'm just kidding. So yeah, my name is Marshall Maurice. I work in the Office of the Provost, Planning and Finance Office, and among other things, I also work with Panther 180. And so if you do end up emailing us or calling or something like that in the past, like if this isn't your first year using Panther 180, you've probably talked to me in the past, because I've talked to a lot of people since 2016 when it first started, and we implemented here at FIU. So I mean, it's just quick, and then yeah, I'll pass the mic over to Ryan as our third member of Panther 180.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Marshall. As he said, my name is Ryan Starling. I'm the main point of contact for the Panther 180 team. So chances are, if you sent an email or gave us a call, probably spoke to me. I would say the best way to reach out to us is via our team email, only because we have more eyes. But if anyone has any specific questions that they want to send to me directly, please feel free. But yeah, we're always here to support you. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out.
Thank you, guys. So just a couple more details for you. All those who would be eligible for promotion will receive a link on their Panther 180 homepage once we get closer to that date. If you do have issues with not seeing that link, right, it's not automatic. It's not going to just open unless we've been told that the intention is for you to go up for promotion, right? Especially for those associates to full. For those who are up for tenure, those will be automatically added, because we already know that your intention is to be, obviously you have to go up for review, but for any that are going up just for promotion up to full, for example, or on, that would have to be a communication sent from the chairperson over to panther180@fiu.edu. So if you do have any issues, for example, with your link, the first point of contact would be your chairperson, and then you can always contact Panther 180 and we could aid in that coordination, right? So if you haven't had the opportunity to reach out to your chairperson, we could also do that on your behalf. And I think that's one of the main kind of items that are always get a little bit tricky. And as everyone has mentioned before me, it is important not to wait to the last minute, just because we don't want you to feel overwhelmed. So, just jumping in, getting familiarized with the system a little bit, and start entering your activities will go a long way, right? That way, by the time you hopefully attend the open lab, you come in with questions, direct questions that are applicable to your file, and we could help guide you through that. Okay, so thank you so much, and we wish you all the very best and good luck.
Thanks, Abby.
Thank you. Heather, I think you said you wanted to take one of the questions.
There was a question about parental leave. So the promotion process for teaching faculty merely governs when you are able to go up for promotion. You're not required to go up for promotion, so we wouldn't need to sort of factor in when if you were on a FMLA. I hope that clears it up.
Well, if you do have other questions, I hope you know now who you can contact for help. So I guess we'll just conclude. Thank you very much. We hope your promotion experience goes well.
Thank you all. Nice job, everyone.
Thank you.
Provost, would you like to say anything?
No, just thank you for this workshop. Like you said, send your comments, recommendations. Always want to improve, but look forward to a very smooth process, hopefully. So thank you for attending the workshop.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Have a nice day.